has been an absolutely astonishing season.
Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to Formula Sim Racing once again. It has been a long wait since the Italian Grand Prix, but we're back for our final third of the season, and what a circuit to return to as well. Welcome to Marina Bay, one of the most gorgeous street circuits in my opinion. Real challenge to drive, especially on the tyres. We don't necessarily have the heat factor to deal with since this is a virtual scene. But still plenty of concentration required. My name is James Kirk, and, well, we're a little short-handed on the staff front this time around. Our lovely German friend, Peter Schultz, unavailable for this broadcast, and so we are making do. We'll be joined very shortly by our lovely regular co-coms, Cameron Rodger, but then it's just going to be us, the gruesome twosome, race directing behind the scenes being done by Mr. Chris Hobb. And so there may be a couple of things in terms of the broadcast which we won't be able to provide to you. I think the grid graphics, for example, probably not going to be able to do those. So I hope you hang on with us and just enjoy some beautiful actions around a beautiful circuit. Speaking of which, we are currently about halfway through qualifying, just over 10 minutes remaining. And an important qualifying session this as well. Although it is generally quite a wide street circuit, Singapore is still a street circuit nonetheless, and so therefore grid position when it comes to the start will be all important. Grid position is something which Jerne Simoncic has been pretty good at all year long. He's taken 4 positions out of 8 races available, the other 4 going to his main title rival and increasingly likely looking champion in the making, Michele D'Alessandro. The man is on top here at the moment, though, and indeed 2/10 ahead of the Italian D'Alessandro. Behind him, then, let's get those words in the right order, we have Simoncic's teammate, Michi Hoyer, who's looking to bounce back after his first retirement of the season in Italy, though it wasn't entirely his fault. Going through Ascari, retired on lap 1, and I'm not sure how many times you can say in Michi Hoyer's career he's ever done that. He did on that occasion, and it's left ACR a little bit short-handed when it comes to the Teams Championship, which we will be going over probably in the next few minutes or so. Rounding out the rest of the top 10, we have Mohamed Patel, who crashed out in spectacular fashion near the end of the Italian Grand Prix. He was set for his first race win of the year, just lost it under braking into the Parabolica and handed every podium position to drivers behind him. Ironically, he's looking to start now, where he finished that Italian Grand Prix in 4th. And rounding out the top 5, actually, we've got Jim Paresis, who's been in a little bit of unsure form. He scored his first point in Italy since, goodness me, when was it? For, 3 races. The last time he scored a point was, I want to say, was it... I'll double check that now. Internet's being slow. Either way, first point in 3 races. Looking to get on better form. Gosby, Van den Eet, Burlak, Heras, and Tyen rounding out the top 10. As Mohamed Patel puts in a 1:32.698 and puts himself ahead of his stablemate, Michele D'Alessandro, with just over 8 minutes left to go. So if you're joining us for the first time here at FSR, of course sponsored by Thrustmaster, you join us at a very interesting point. As I open the show with, we're into the final third of the season. So here on the 19th of August, get the dates right. Of course, we've got the Singapore Grand Prix, and then it's into 3 absolute classics, in my opinion. 9th of September, we got Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix. We then head to Austin, Texas for the United States Grand Prix on the 23rd of September. And we round out our season at the legendary Autodromo Carlos Pache, better known as Interlagos, the Brazilian Grand Prix, rounding out your 12-race calendar on the 7th of October. And of course, it is a shorter calendar than we are used to here at Formula Sim Racing, but it means all the more that every result is going to matter, and it's results that Jerne Simoncic needs. I'm sure that Cam will be able to remind me once we get into the race. but I'm pretty sure that last time out of the Italian Grand Prix, the championship was taken out of his hands mathematically. So even if Yone was finished first at every single Grand Prix from now until Brazil, if D'Alessandro finished second at each of those races, then Michele would still win the Drivers' Championship. So a lot of power being taken out of Yone's hands, and he really needs to get his A game back, because it's all fair and well taking 4 pole positions, but D'Alessandro has taken 4 wins, and the man in form at the moment has been Petter Burlak, who's taken 2 consecutive wins, the 2015 champion, lest we forget. Really coming into his own, though. Not really showing much pace here in qualifying. He's down in P8, a good 5/10 of the ultimate pace being set by Yone. And, yeah, difficult to see where he's going to find the pace as well, because he's looking even miles behind his regular teammate, Mohamed Patel. Let's actually go on board with him. It looks like he's just about to wind up a lap here at Singapore. And so let's go on board with the Croatian as we head into turn 1, better known as Shears Corner. And it's a tight little twisty complex as we head through 2 and 3 before the run through 4. And then into the longest and most important part of the circuit for your low downforce, turn 5. Heading down the DRS straight through the kink of turn 6 and into Memorial Corner, heavy braking zone. It's a simple 90-degree left-hander followed up by a 90-degree right-hander, turn 8. Wall comes at you very quickly before we then head straight into turn 9, and there's another burst down a short straight before this little kink and into the Singapore sling. Of course, much more of a sling nowadays than the hot potato section that we had before. It's then into turn 11 and turn 12 before we head into turn 13 here. And onto the second DRS straight across the bridge. Another heavy braking zone. Of course, we saw Michael Schumacher and Jean-Eric Verne have a massive collision down here. Going to be interesting to see how it happens, or what happens here in the race on lap 1. Turn 15, the kink followed up by another couple of 90 degrees. Turn 16 and turn 17. And then under the bridge here, turn 18 into turn 19. Very stop-start section. Going to be pretty hard on the tyres by this point, especially on a hot night in Singapore. And it's the final double left-hand apex at 22 and 23, heading onto the straight, and that is much better from Petter Burlak, a 132.9. It's an extra tenth that sees him up to P6, but still only 2 to 3 tenths away from his teammate Mohamed Patel, who remains there in P2. Reason why Burlak hasn't improved as much as he would have wanted, though, is because of Jarl Tyen. Now, the Edge driver made a bit of a faux pas last time in Italy. He accidentally selected qualifying boost settings instead of race boost settings. Believe me, it makes a difference. His engine blew up because of it. However, looking a lot more on the pace and is actually faster than his teammate for the second half of the season, at least, Jim Paresis. Jarl coming in to replace Georgios Manasakis. And the Edge, I mean, they've been so impressive, actually, in the opening half of the season. Brand new team to the Formula Sim Racing career ladder, let alone World Championship. They scored points consistently in that first half of the season, and it left them in P4, being well off the pace, so not scored. Well, they've only scored 1 point in the last 3 races, that 1 point being scored by Jim Paresis last time in Italy. Looking a lot better for them, though. P5 for Tyen, P8 now for Paresis, though, because into P6 goes another man who's been let down a little bit in the second half of the season. Sander Kallas, the Estonian, of course, our reigning ace champion. It's just not worked out for him so far. Only scored 12 points all season long. That was at round 1 and round 3. Both, let's do your maths right, James. I think that's what, 6th place finishes? 25, 18, 15, 12, 10. It is 6th, no, 7th place. Got my point structure right eventually there. So Sander will be pretty happy, I think, to be up there in 6th. Danny Van Den Eat now down to P10 as we enter the final 2 minutes. And everyone just looking to set their final lap. So speaking of which, I think Simoncic is done. And what a final lap it is as well. I did not notice him putting in there a 1:32.304. That is almost 4/10 clear of Mohamed Patel in second. That's a mighty effort from the Slovenian. And puts him in very good stead to potentially take his 5th pole position of the season. Let's actually go on board now with Mohamed Patel, because he's just coming to the end of his formation lap, warm-up lap. That's the right one. And we'll see whether Patel can put in a final improvement, much like his teammate will be looking to do as well. The Englishman rounds the final couple of corners and gets started now. Whereas everyone else on track, D'Alessandro's just ahead of him. Hoy is actually either just about to start a lap. I think he's going to be starting a lap soon. Burlak as well, looking to start a new lap. Parisis. So yeah, let's look to Patel and D'Alessandro. These are going to be our first top runners coming in with times. I think, yeah, let's pick up D'Alessandro here because he's currently moving through the middle sector. He's a bit back in qualifying recently, actually, D'Alessandro. In the early stages, it was Simoncic who was very much dominating in that section, but D'Alessandro was picking up the crucial race wins. But more recently, the Italian has been very much on a par with Yerne, actually. And it's why they head into the final third of the season with 4 pole positions apiece. DRS closed as we head into the final sector now. D'Alessandro going nice and wide. You've got to use as much runoff there as possible to get as much as speed down, because once you head into this stop-start section, it is all about the brakes. Looking pretty solid there, actually, for D'Alessandro. I see Hoyer's decided to abandon his final lap, so he's done in P4. D'Alessandro comes round the final sector, and yeah, that is a P2 effort, so a 10th.5 off Simoncic. Patel's not going to finish his lap, and so now it's all down to Burlak, Parisis, maybe Gosby and Heras as well. I think Heras is going to be the next one to cross the line here, currently in P11, the Spaniard. Or maybe not, is it Parisis? No, it is Parisis ahead of him, sorry. So let's see where the Greek goes. No improvement from Jim. He remains in P8. Next across the line will be Sergi Heras. Can he break his way into the top 10? He's got to find another couple of 10s and a massive, massive twitch on exit there. Sees Heras crash out of qualifying. Around the final corner now is going to come Burlak as well, who can't find grip. And down to Martin Gosby now, although, is he still on it? I think he is still on it. The man who took some early damage in the Italian Grand Prix. He's had problems with the tyres all year long, so he really needs a good starting position. Look at that, lighting it up. Out of one of the final corners there, you can see how much the tyres are just trying to hold on, and it's why we see people, yeah, really lose it there. Another twitch, this time from Gosby, no improvement. And ultimately, no challengers to Yerne Simoncic, who picks up his 5th pole position of the season, and he's going to be starting on the front row alongside his championship rival, Michele D'Alessandro. It's Patel, Hoyer, and Tyen rounding out your top 5. The race is coming up next, so we shall see you after these messages.
Hey man, I got that new TMX Thrustmaster wheel. It's going down.
Xbox One?
I can't wait to play when I get home.
Yo, let me play.
Yeah, after I play first. Yeah.
You know, I'll race it for it.
So I have it on.
Do you want a more immersive experience? Thrustmaster T150 force feedback racing wheel. Official PS3 and PS4 licenses, and also PC compatible. Rubber coated wheel grips. 1080 degrees of rotation. Adjustable force feedback. Large metal sequential pad. Optimized ergonomic design. Mixed belt, pulley, and gear system. Thrustmaster. Enter into the real driving world.
Sizable not low, keep it up.
Whoa, great!
Oh no, big mistake! I had to go back last and down to
Dynamic conference.
It has been an absolutely astonishing season.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the Singapore Grand Prix here at the Formula SimRacing World Championship, sponsored by Thrustmaster. We're just in the final stages of warm-up now. My name is James Kirk, and I am finally joined by Mr. Cameron Rodger. And Cam, Pretty intense qualifying session. Some insane times coming out at the top end of it, though. Ultimately, Jerne Simoncic almost had 2/10 over his rival, Michele D'Alessandro. Will be hoping to convert that sort of pace in what's going to be a very long and difficult race. 61 laps today.
Yeah, it's that lap times. Sorry, that lap time from Jerne Simoncic run is just pretty ridiculous, to be honest. And then even Michele getting quite close in the end. But it seems that ACR really, really have a good setup around here. Robin Panzer just absolutely dominated the ace race about an hour ago. So maybe Jerne Simoncic is going to have a fairly easy one, but Michele is going to do everything to stop that.
Let's take a little look at the Drivers and Teams Championship out of interest. So it's Musto Racing that currently lead on 228 points. They have really started to get into form now, and they are, 30 or so points ahead of Avicronic Racing on 197. It's no wonder that they've put a lot of effort in to try and sort out their race setup, and we'll be seeing whether they have been able to do it, because generally ACR's been quick in quali, but less so in the race. Sabema is then a further 34 points behind on 163, and of course we've got this very much two-tier system this year where you go way back, and actually the poor form that we talked about from Edge Esports in recent races has allowed NetRex Grand Prix to head up into that fourth position. Only a point ahead of Edge, though, 45 to 44. And it's a tight battle now as well. Flag to flag SimRacing's on 42. You got Twister there as well. They've been in decent form recently on 40. Pescara on 34. It's looking like a pretty good and exciting team battle wherever you look. And in the drivers, as we were alluding to throughout this entire broadcast, D'Alessandro closer and closer to becoming our 2018 champion. He's on 163 points to Simoncic's 124. Do not count out Burlak and Patel either. They are on 117 and 111 respectively. But D'Alessandro, who's been in such amazing form, Cam, that we arrive at this point and all he has to do is keep on finishing second. And it doesn't matter whether Jerne wins or not. He's gonna be in that number one position.
Yes, so he is 39 points in the lead, and with a 7-point gap between first and second, 4 races to go, that's 28 points. So yeah, Michele can finish second every single race. However, what we saw last time out in Monza, Mohamed Patel, final lap, lost the lead, so lost the podium with his mistake. That gave Jerne some more points. Things like that can happen, do happen, and that's going to play into the hands of either one of them. Started to see Michele maybe struggling a little bit in a couple of races. In Spa, he got the drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, stuff like that. So it's not game, set, and match, but it's definitely advantage to D'Alessandro coming last third.
And really, it's the form of Musto Racing in particular in recent events. Of course, Burlak, the last man to take a win. In fact, he's taken the last 2. It probably should have been Patel taking the win in Monza, let's be fair. But they've been looking so strong, and they may threaten to slightly upset the apple cart in perhaps more ways than one. And as warm-up ends, I think we're about to enter one of those make or break races, Cam, where Jerne needs to win, but he really needs to have a bit of luck at the start here as well, and hope that D'Alessandro is perhaps overtaken by either, ideally, his teammate Michi Hoyer, or perhaps one of those outside chances. So in Mohamed Patel's case, as the rFactor man goes through his things, Mohamed Patel, he's got a chance of winning this race himself, and of course Jarl Tyen, a real wild card in that top 5. And so everyone making their way to the grid. And it's going to be a fascinating one. We're going to be doing the grid the old-fashioned way. Although I seem to have lost game sound. Oh no, they're just very quiet.
Yeah, I thought the same. That's why I went quiet for a sec. I thought my game crashed, but the camera's so far away, it didn't actually hear them.
So let's run you through your runners and riders then. So Simičić on pole for ACR, Zaxby from Michele D'Alessandro for Sabema, Patel for Musto, and Hoyer for ACR round out the second row. And then we have a couple of wild cards in the mix. Tyen for Edge and Callas for Netrex running on the third row. We then have Peter Burlak and Jim Paresis, long-time veterans of the World Championship in 7th and 8th. And then we have rounding out the top 10, Martin Gosby and Sergei Heras, both for flag to flag, but for the different teams, so sim racing and engineering respectively. The first of the Twisters, Bianca Lila, starts P11 with Kian White in the Basilia car, although he's in the FSR 2018 car, which is bizarre. P12. We then have Phil Kraus for flag-to-flag sim racing P13 before the two Thrustmasters of Gigioli and Ivanov come 14th and 15th. Marek Godek is the first of the Ghost Speeds in 16th, with Birokov the first of the Invictuses, P17. And then rounding out the top 20, we have new driver, I think, for this race, Haris Parvez.
He's ace normally, he's the reserve.
Well, there we go. Stepping up to the big leagues. Parvez for Twister. Mashuli for Pescara. That's a really poor qualifying from Mashuli, actually. And then Remco Muir rounding out the top 20 for Torrent. His teammate, Florian Gaia, starts off the guys below P20, so P21 for Gaia. And then starting from the pit lane is Danny Van Den Eek, which will promote Tom Satherley for Ghost Speed up to 22, Rens Klopp for Sabema up to 23, and Jost Araneda for Invictus up to 24. Van Den Eek joined in the pit lane by Enric Andre for Breslin. I keep on getting confused with another team in another league. And Germano Zapala for Pescara as well, joined them in there. So a few drivers thinking that that's the best option, Cam. And to be honest, at a street circuit, you wouldn't blame them for doing so. But then again, the World Championship, it's actually been pretty clean for a lot of these races. So maybe just looking to get a tyre advantage or something, I don't know.
Yeah, looking how the Pro and Ace races went, the tyres are pretty crucial. We've seen Musto generally use the harder compounds, and we have the Ultras soft and the mediums here, so maybe Musto might think about using the mediums, try and go a bit longer. However, they are pretty slow, so I think we might see Yerne, at least in the first stint, maybe 2 stints, go ultra, try and build up that gap. But Michele is probably going to be a bit more thoughtful about it and use the softs to his advantage to try and get the ultra softs later in the race and make a move, as he has done in races like Hockenheim.
Of course, the tyre compounds brought to this race, the ultra soft, the soft and the medium available. So no super soft for those quick stints. And they're just lining up now on the final row is Jos Araneda before we get the 61 lap Singapore Grand Prix underway. The two championship rivals looking up to the lights. We have 2, we have 3. The 4th and the 5th illuminate. And here at Marina Bay, we are off and we are racing. And it does look like a decent start there from Simičić. Though look at D'Alessandro looking to break leg into turn 1. An instant response from the good start from Yerne Simičić, side by side through turn 3. Patel had a decent start as well, but the two championship leaders into combat immediately. And Simičić says, excuse me, I'm going to take this one, thank you very much. Tries to stamp his authority on this Grand Prix early stages as we head through turn 6. No DRS, remember, until lap 3. And D'Alessandro on the offensive once again. Tries to fake out Simičić as we head into turn 8 now. And trying to fake him out again, going down the inside. It means that Simičić has left his braking very late. And he's on the back foot. Patel watching brief in 3rd. Hoyer and Tyer make up 4th and 5th. And Burlak's made a decent start. He's up to P6. Into the Singapore sling. Pretty easy to defend. Simičić clouting the curb. The Italian all over the back of him and potentially ruffling his feathers, or at least trying to do so as much as possible. Before we head on to the back bridge section now, everyone just trying to make their way through. Callas, Gosby, Paresis, we can see there in the background, all in combat. And into the final sector now, Simičić not under as much pressure from D'Alessandro, using that decent top speed the ACR usually has to pull away, even in the case of slipstreaming. And now it's the final stop-start section here before the run through 22 and 23, just going under the scaffolding, under the bridge, heading towards the big illuminated wheel. Everyone line astern, no real major worries, and the final flicks through 23 and 23 at the end of lap 1. See Yerne Simičić lead from D'Alessandro, Patel, Hoyer, Tyen, Burlak, Callas, Gosby, Paresis and Heras.
Yeah, that was pretty clean start. I didn't hear any crashes. I did have a look back on the cameras, and some battling going on in the mid-pack with Sergi Aras and Manuel Biancalilla. But yeah, the pretty clean start considering this is pretty much the only street track we go to all season, and all the drivers managed to go through there pretty quickly. Yanni Simoncic was defending with everything that he had in those first few corners and then into the middle sector. And he's pulling a little gap here, so he's obviously trying just to lead this race by just putting in lap after lap at the front. It's working out for him so far.
Yeah, really punchy was D'Alessandro in these opening laps, or in that opening lap, I should say. It is a long one round here at Marina Bay, of course. But Yanni Simoncic starting to reaffirm some authority, which he gained through qualifying. Further back, there's not anyone who's had a real nightmare. Unfortunately, we have lost Enric Andre, our first retirement there on lap 1. Not quite sure what happened to him. But a DNF suggests a potential pullover or disconnection, unfortunately. And further back, everyone is really just settling into their own little groups. There's no one in particular who's really starting to make an attack, although going back to Heras, Cam, I think is the best course of action here. He's near enough Jim Paresis, but we have a real train here from Heras, Biancalilla, White in there as well, Kraus, Godek, Ivanov not too far behind. The man who's currently occupying the final point position, under a lot of pressure to keep it.
Yes, Sergi Aras, he hasn't had the best season, but he has got a couple of points finishes here and there. He's definitely pulling that Flag Engineering team up a bit, because Florian Becker hasn't had best results this season, and Florian's PC actually crashed on the formation lap as well, which is why he's no longer in this event as well. But yeah, Sergi, he's definitely improving as the season goes on, and he's in a good position right now because he's still in this train and he's in the points. Although he's having to defend here from Biancalilla, though as it's a bit of a DRS train, that's going to be slightly easy for Sergi to defend. And actually, I just had a look at what happened to Enric Andre. Basically, he got stuck in the wall in the pit lane, so he didn't even make the start. The pit lane is very tight here, and as he was coming out, his front wing got stuck and he couldn't seem to move, so that is him DNF'd, unfortunately.
Speaking of DRS, we've had one overtake of that kind already. Peter Burlak making his way past Jarl Tie-In, so the Croatian up into P5. These two, of course, good friends, teammates in far away other series, but definitely rivals here. Is, my goodness me, I did not realize that we had such a lovely wide-angle camera. I'm just screening through all these different ones, and a big props must go to the FSR modding team, because this particular version of Singapore doesn't only look gorgeous, but it runs well as well. So a shout out to the boys behind the scenes for putting this one together.
Yeah, a lot of work was actually put into this track to update it a bit. FSR, well, RF2 in general with night races doesn't always have the best performance because of how the lights work and all the reflections and all this sort of stuff. But it's a lot of optimization has gone into this track and a lot of graphical work, so hopefully you're enjoying it from a visual perspective as well.
It dazzles the eyes, as well as dazzling the senses by the excitement that you get from overtakes. Unfortunately, not too many of them in these opening stages. The only real one of note, of course, Peter Burlak making his way past Jarl Tie-In last lap. Sander Kallas holding station in P7, and then we have Martin Gosby, Jim Paresis, and still that Sergei Heras train. Although, I dare I say, Heras starting to reel in Jim Paresis ahead of him.
Yeah, the train at the front is actually sort of by Jarl Tie-In. Now that Burlak's got past, he's pulling a little bit of a gap, and I think Tie-In's not quite on the pace of the top 5 right now. And he's definitely holding up Kallas and Co a little bit behind him. That train, I mean, it goes all the way down. It's keeping on going to Kirill Birakov in P17, and even further back, to be honest. It's one big train behind Tie-In, so Tie-In does need to watch out that he doesn't sort of break the seal and then start getting overtaken every single lap by these guys.
I noticed up at the front as well, we're starting to have a little train form behind D'Alessandro. Patel and Hoyer certainly on the pace. And Michi Hoyer will be pleased with this much already, having made it past lap 1. But he really needs to get a wiggle on, because the best way that he'll be helping his teammate will not just be overtaking Patel, but more crucially, getting past D'Alessandro. And I'm wondering whether he might look to the pit stop strategies to try and achieve this, because it's a long race, but it's also super hard on the tyres, Cam. And these ultra softs, they're going to be burning through them in about 10, 15 laps or so.
Yeah, the most you're really going to get out of the ultra soft is about 11, maybe 12 laps if you're really good.
Yeah.
But the issue is the rear tyres. And most tracks in FSR, it's the front tyres that wear the most. But on this track, it's the rears, because there's 23 corners, so there's a lot of acceleration zones. And the rear tyres die earlier than the fronts in terms of percentage of wear. So you really do have to be careful with the rears. And as I said, if you nurse them, you can get about 12 laps. But in this first stint, I wouldn't be surprised if they pit on lap 10, maybe lap 11 if they're trying something different.
If you're curious about live timing and wondering where it is, well, it's now back as Martin Gosby and Sander Callas having well, I was going to say they were in a battle, but I think it's Martin Gosby's connection. And oh dear, that's a big, big lag spike for Martin Gosby, who continues to fly all over the place. His ping was northward of 1,000, and if it doesn't settle down soon, that might be the Englishman out of the race.
That is unfortunate for Martin Gosby. I mean, it looks like he's still... hello, he's
still
back.
there.
He is back. Okay. Unfortunately, SimRacing has these quirks. I mean, look, he's still right there racing, but he was lagging all over the place. Luckily, that didn't cause any sort of incident like we saw with Kian White and Daniel Kish going up Eau Rouge in Spa. But yeah, it looks like it's all good now. It's part and parcel of online racing, unfortunately.
It's allowed Jim Paresis a little bit of time to catch up at least, but I don't think he would have liked seeing that in front of him. But yes, going back to live timing. Raceview.nl, we have an FSR server, a live timing section available and ready to go, and it's quite crucial for us because we get to see the tyres now as well. And it's interesting that Sergei Harras is really in the eye of the storm, because he's the lead of our soft tyre runners, although for how long? Here goes Manuel Biancalillo around the outside, although he goes off circuit to complete the move. Not entirely sure that one was legitimate, but well, the Italian's running away with it now, and Harras might feel a little bit aggrieved about that.
Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can get a replay of that, because that certainly looked, well, interesting. Let's have a look. So we are on board now. Biancalillo on the outside. He does go off completely off the racing circuit. You are allowed to use the curb, but he went past the curb as well. So that's potentially a legal move there. He probably should give that place back just out of courtesy, but see if there's any sort of post-race incidents for that.
It's a shame as well if it is deemed to be illegal, of which, at least from my experience, that looks like a slam dunk. Might be wrong though. Commentators are often wrong. But yeah, Manuel, he's in a weird position, isn't he? Because he had arguably his best half of a race at the Italian Grand Prix last time. Was looking on top 5 pace even, potentially. All thrown away through the pit stops. And so you can see that Twister have got a really talented driver here, but he just needs to cut out these mistakes.
Yeah, I like how you said he had a good half a race in Italy, because it literally was a race of 2 halves. Yeah, first part of the race he was there, he was looking good, and then obviously it all sort of fell apart at the end, and he actually ended up getting a post-race penalty, if I think, for an incident later in the race as well. So wasn't the best race for him, but that is showing what he can do. He's here in 10th place. Probably going to be a bit difficult for him to move up today.
Alternate strategy.
Yeah, alternate strategy. That is one benefit of starting outside the top 10. You do have choice on tyres. Soft tyres will probably go about 15 laps on this opening stint, maybe 14 because of the heavier fuel. This will give him some options. So he is going to be looking to move up, but he needs to find that little bit extra finesse with his driving, and then he's definitely going to be a top driver in this league.
Martin Goldsby's getting dangerous again. And to be fair, I know of the policy elsewhere, Cam, but is there power from the race director to say, listen, your ping's getting way too dangerous now? Because that's the second time we've seen Gosby jumping around at 2,000 ping plus.
ultimately, the race director has control of the race.
Mhm.
He is warping a little bit, but I don't know. It's a difficult one to call because it's sort of coming and going. But yeah, ultimately that is down to race director. At the moment, it seems to be just about okay. But as I said, unfortunately, that's just one thing with the internet. It can have these little issues like this. But actually, Jim Priestis is quite close now. Is he going to be having a look down the inside here? Yes, he is. He's going to be looking down the inside of Martin Gosby. Gosby turns in a little bit, tiny bit of contact thing there. And now they're still racing down into turn 8, but no way for Jim Priestis to get through. So Jim is obviously comfortable enough that Martin's internet is good to go for an overtake. So they'll just have to keep an eye on that. Oh, did someone just crash?
There's a few people that have crashed. So
Victor Ivanov. Victor Ivanov.
Ivanov, Godek, and Gigioli are all out. Although I think all 3 of them are unrelated.
See if I can get a replay. It's not seeming working. Let's jump back into the action.
Ivanov just crashed into his own pit garage. I know it sounds stupid, but that's genuinely what happened. So I think he just gave up.
That is for some reason replay has decided to stop working.
We'll add it to the list.
Yes. No, it's alright. I will just get it up now. I think he was just DNFing and crashing into the barrier. But yes, let's go back onto action. There's a couple pit stops being made. See, Jos Arenader's made a pit stop. Oh no, not Jos Arenader. That was Victor actually. And then Germano Zappella has made a pit stop. He started from the pit lane due to a penalty from Monza, and he has obviously decided to go on a alternate strategy. And Martin Gosby and Jim Priestis are battling again, side by side through turn 8. Jim Priestis gone round the outside of turn 8. That is a lovely move there by Jim Priestis. Got past Martin Gosby, and as the edge driver now up into 8th place. Martin is trying to go back here down the inside of turn 10, but he's just having a little bit of a look. So Martin struggling a little bit there. And that is Jim now into a bit of clean air with Sander Callas a few seconds up the road as well.
Beautiful bit of a move there. That's the Jim Priestis we know and love. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I was just about to comment on how Biancalilla and Heras, that whole training had really stretched out a bit. But because of Priestis and Gosby battling, they've been reeled in once again. And all of a sudden, Biancalilla's got a sniff of P9. And with Gosby's connection as it is, you might reckon that it's a good time to get that as well. And Zappala out with suspension as well. Ooh. So in the space of 3 laps, we've had 5 people retire. 4 of those came in. Actually, no, all 5 of those retired in the pit lane. As D'Alessandro's in.
Yeah, let's jump on board. He's taken another set of the ultra soft tyres. So what is this already? It's only lap 9. End of lap 9 he pitted. And yeah, he's gone down to 11th place. He's going to be in traffic, but he's on the the ultra soft tyres. So he is obviously going for an undercut here on Jonas Simčić. Simčić obviously had a few second lead. Oh, actually, he's coming out the pits right next to Haris Parvez, his friend, teammate, we'll call it that. And yeah, that is him now into some clean air. So let's see what Jonas Simčić does at the end of this lap. If he covers him, he probably will. And this is Martin Gosby getting overtaken by the other twister of Biancalilla. So that's Biancalilla up into 8th place now as well.
So quick thing, D'Alessandro onto the soft tyres, by the way, not the ultra softs.
It's ultra soft on my screen.
Definitely soft, and it's soft on race view as well. And not only that, but Michi Hoyer's gotten past.
Sorry, it literally just updated as you said it.
Ah.
Yeah, let's jump into Michi Hoyer.
Michi Hoyer's gotten past Mohamed Patel as well. That was around turn 8 as well. So a real hotspot for overtaking, it seems, turn 8, and going around the outside of that as well. Now, what is Simčić going to do here? Because D'Alessandro has pulled the trigger, and you'd imagine that Simčić will probably want to come in this lap to try and respond. Indeed, he does.
A bit of a late call there, but you can cross that pit entry line here. That is allowed. So Oh, everyone else. Yeah, I must say, yeah, who stays out? Oh, but Michi Hoy has got a hit in the pit lane by, who's that? Mohammed Patel. Let's just get a replay on that. And someone has lost a front wing. Mohammed Patel has lost his front wing. Michi Hoy is trying to turn around, and Martin Gosby's got involved as well. This is really not good for Michi Hoyer.
The pit lane has been the place for all the action. We've had 5 retirements in there, and now a pit lane crash.
There's so much going on there. I couldn't even find Michi Hoyer as he was going down the tower to click on. So yeah, Hoyer seemingly had one of the first pit boxes. Patel was trying to move out of the way, hit Hoyer, spun him 180. Oh, it's actually Burlak. Burlak lost his front wing. Michi Hoyer, in spinning around, lost Burlak his front wing. That is not good for Musto. And one of the edge cars lost it. Couldn't see his pit box as well. This is all chaos here. Martin Gosby had to slow literally to a standstill to get in his pit box and eventually gets out. And wow, that is really not good. And Danny Van Den Neat hits the front wing off into the grandstand. And Michi Hoyer, did he find it? Yes. Has he? Oh yes, so he's finally changed his tyres, but his engine is smoking a little bit. Wow, that was a very chaotic moment, all caused by Mohammed Patel. Unfortunately, he was just too close to Hoyer, and he's now not got front wing either. What is going on?
To be fair,
let's have a look.
I don't think Michi Hoyer can escape the spotlight as well, though, because that was super dangerous to do what he did as well, spinning. I think there's going to be a keen eye looking at that pit lane incident, because that's a massive moment. Oh, look at Bianca Lilla. He's spun in the pit lane as well.
What is going on?
Look at that. He's lost his front wing.
What is going on with this pit lane? And there's a torrent car. Oh, and he's about to reverse into... Wow. He almost reversed into that torrent car. God, what is going on with this pit lane? Let's grab a replay of Bianca Lilla now coming into the pit lane.
Oh, don't reverse into Burlak. Goodness me.
So first of all, he spins coming in himself, and then the torrent car is going to come around the corner. He's going to reverse into that, and now he's moving into Burlak. Luckily, that was his pit box, and Patel lost his front wing in that as well. So 2 Mustos and a Twister losing their front wing in the pit stop. Crazy stuff going on right now. And where is Yerny Simičić? So Yerny Simičić, he's made a pit stop, and he is...
Yeah, he's ahead of D'Alessandro.
Yes.
So he got in ahead of all of that nonsense and carnage in the pit lane. And ultimately, even though D'Alessandro called the shots, even though he tried the undercut, Simičić to come out ahead. Not only that, but Simičić has chosen to go onto the ultra soft tyres in a contrary strategy to D'Alessandro.
This is good for Yerny. This is going to allow him to open up this gap in this second stint, which means that Michele is going to have to chase him down later on in the race. You have to use 2 types of compound, so Yerny is going to have to go to the softs later on in the race. We know that for sure by the rules. So Michele just needs to stay as close as he can, but right now he's being held up by, who is this, Phil Kraus in the Flag to Flag SimRacing car, and this is not going to be helping him at all, because on those newer soft tyres, he's going to be quicker, but he's not going to easily be able to overtake, as there's no blue flags for this. It's 4 position. And someone else...
I'm trying to identify the man who's net 3rd in all of this.
Sander Callas. Sander Callas, he has just made a pit stop.
Is Sander Callas 3rd? Net 3rd?
It is, because he was in 5th place, and it was the 2 Mustos out the top 5 that went. So Yerny has now got the physical lead back as well after Callas pitting, and now Sergi Heras. He overtook Sergi Heras.
Oh, so Renz Klopp is out as well.
A lot has gone on in these last 5 laps, because...
Do you want to guess where Renz Klopp retired, by the way?
The pit lane.
The pit lane.
Let's have
that's 1 Sabema out. We're up to 6 retirements already. All 6 of them happened in the pit lane. And that's not just them coming back to the pit lane. It's various incidents.
Oh, he just retired.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. He obviously was not having a good race for whatever reason. We didn't see anything happen, but anyway, Sergi Heras, P2, but on a different tyre strategy, having started in P11, I think it was, or P12. He could choose what tyres he started on. Michele D'Alessandro is going to have to get past him as soon as possible if he wants to keep Jerne Simicic intact, because Jerne is going to be best part of half a second a lap quicker on these ultra soft tyres, but obviously they will only last about 10 or 11 laps, when the softs can probably get all the way to about lap 25.
Do you want... Well, actually, it's difficult to call a net top 5. I think it's pretty clear that Simicic is first, D'Alessandro is second. I think it's pretty good to say that Callas is in third, and probably Paresis is up to fourth at this point.
But then...
As Sergei Harris is actually overtaken by D'Alessandro. But you know what? I think Sergei Harris is currently net P5, because the next one back is Kian White, and he's a good 23 seconds behind Harris.
Yeah, it was... The Martin Gosby now on P9's made a pit stop, and that's roughly where Kian's going to come out. Not Kian, Sergi's going to come out. So it's definitely looking good for him, because if Sergi can get around... Because Florian Gaia is yet to make a pit stop as well. So if Sergi Harris can get out in front of Martin Gosby, then he's going to be in this nice big gap where he can chase down Jim Paresis, who is in a net P5. So yeah, this could be a good result for Sergi Harris if he can keep it together.
When was the last time that Musto non-scored?
Non-scored. Do you know this? Is that a question? I'm struggling to think about that, because this season, I mean, they're leading the Constructors' Championship.
They've scored at every place this season.
Yep. And last season, it might be Kota, because in Kota, me and Sergi Arras did reserve drives, and I DNF'd, and I think Sergi might have as well. So it might be Kota last year if you are searching that up as we speak.
I am trying to look. It is indeed.
Yes.
Kota last year. Well, they're threatening to follow that up. Currently, Burlak 18th, Patel 21st, Hoyer down there in 20th, and poor Jarl Tyen, who's having such a good race up until that point, and behind him, Araneda and Major coming into contact, and being crushed up against the wall was one of them. Yeah, Jarl Tyen was set to score a good chunk of points. He's now out of that, and a final pit stop is coming in, at least in terms of switching over from the soft tyre. I know Harris is still there in third, but Callas, Paresis, Gosby, they've all stopped. White stopped. Kraus has now stopped. Harris Parvez on debuts up there in the top 9. And Kirill Burakov as well, threatening to score a point, the Russian, who usually goes for the hot laps. He's got something to fight for this time.
Oh, just have a nice look at this battle for P8 right now. It's Phil Kraus and Harris Parvez. These guys, about an hour ago in the ace race, had a monumental battle for... I can't remember what place it was now. I think it was P3. And in the end, Harris ended up pushing Phil off the road, and then Phil turned in on Harris, and there was a bit of contact. So there's not a lot of love lost between these two drivers. Only 1 hour ago, hitting each other at this very circuit. So I have to see how those two come along in the next few laps. But now that it's calmed down with the pit stops, I think we can confirm that it seems to be Sander Callas in a net P3, Jim Paresis in a net P4, Martin Gosby in net P5, depending on where Sergi Arras comes out. So this is actually looking quite good for Martin Gosby, who hasn't had the best of luck this year, and yet Sergi Harris is in the pit lane. Ultra soft tyres, it's showing me. Where does he come out? The leaders have gone past. Callas and Paresis have gone past. And here's Sergi. Gosby is coming down. Obviously, he's going to have a massive bit of overspeed due to him being at almost 200 miles an hour on the pit lane. And yes, he has got him. Can Sergi get out ahead of Kian White? It's going to be... No, not for Kian, but it's going to be close to Phil, actually. It's going to be quite tight, but it looks like Sergi has just got Phil. So that is P7 for Sergi Arras. So that is... actually, not a bad race for the flag-to-flag guys. Three of them in the top 8 so far. Oh, massive DRS train coming down here. Harris Parvez going around the outside of Phil Kraus. Can he make it work? Not quite. He has to stay behind there. And yeah, God, these two are going to be battling all afternoon. I can see this, because that is just how it was in Ace about an hour ago.
So, what an interesting first 15 laps that was. No, out of all of it, Simoncic's remained unscathed. He's got a 4.2 second gap over Michele D'Alessandro, who remains there in second. He's then got a 15 second gap to Sander Callas. All the rest of his competition, all the rest of their competition is gone. They'll be doing well to score points at the end of today. And so it's Sander Callas, the man who's had such a checkered campaign, our reigning ace champion. He's looking super good to potentially pick up his first ever podium in the World Championship, though just a second behind him, he's got Jim Paresis, a man who has eaten up podiums for dinner in years gone by.
Yeah, Sander Callas, he's got such good potential, this driver. He's been so good in the lower formulae in the last 3-4 years, in Pro and then in Ace, winning races down there with some top quality drivers, and now he's finally on the WC grid. Hasn't had the best season so far. He's had good performances, but not just general good season. And now he's finally in this podium position, and he needs to keep Jim Paresis behind for another 45 laps, which is not going to be easy. Jim Paresis, he's won races. He's almost won the Formula Sim Racing World Championship many times. So let's see what Callas is made of.
Going back to that COTA race in 2017, that is the last time that Sander Callas scored a best ever finish. He scored 5th position twice in a row from Japan to America. So this not only would be his best ever finish, of course, but his first ever podium confirmed. Jim Paresis, let me get my stat sheet up because I feel like we need to consult this. Jim Paresis has won 4 races, has taken 6 podiums outside of those 4 wins, and taken 3 pole positions. This is his 79th Grand Prix to Callas, for which this is Callas's 16th Grand Prix.
Yes.
Well, hold on, it says he's taken 2 podiums before. Where?
That might have been...
Where? Have I missed this somewhere?
Oh, yes. Didn't he come P3 in Spain last year? I think Spain last year he came P3.
He did come P3.
Yeah,
You're
that was
right.
Flag to
And
Flag's
actually,
first ever race, and he was reserved for Flag to Flag and got them a podium on their debut.
Do you know what my problem was? I was looking at Risto Capit, the Estonian, instead of Sander Callas, the Estonian, because I forgot that Risto Capit did some races last year. So yes, this isn't going to be his best ever finish. No, it's actually going to be his 3rd podium if he finishes on the podium.
Parvez
he
on
took a second.
Sorry to interrupt. Haris Parvez on Kian White. Haris is looking very racy this weekend, I have to say. And easy. Oh no, so he's not going down the inside there. So Kian White actually got past Haris Parvez in the last lap or so. I unfortunately missed that. So Phil has got a bit of a breather now for Haris Parvez. And earlier you said this Harris's debut. It's actually not his debut in WC. Let me think. It was COTA 2016, and he did Brazil last year as replacements as well. So this is, I think, his 3rd race. And he has got points in those races as well. So he's obviously got some talent here in WC, having shown... Well, he's actually the Pro champion from last year, moving up to Ace this year, doing some good performances there. He's missed a few races though, so it's good to see him back, and this time in a WC replacement seat.
And in a tight battle here with White and indeed Kirill Burakov. Burakov has only scored 1 point all season long. That was 4 rounds ago.
Yeah.
Again, he's a guy with pace, but just no race consistency.
Burakov is, as you say, he's such a fast driver. He was, I think, P2 in Spa before he unfortunately got disqualified for doing too many laps in qualifying, so I had to start from the back. But he's got pace. He's just missing something, and hopefully today get some more points for Invictus, because they have only got 1 this season.
Gosby.
Oh, yes, Sergi Aras has got past Martin Gosby, and in the background is that Kian. Oh, wow,
Oh,
big crash. Haris Parvez has been absolutely sent there. I'm not sure who was actually completely involved. Let's have a
It was definitely White and Parvez. Let's have a little look. They go down this back straight through turn 6, DRS wide open, and then White just turns into Parvez.
Let's have a look.
Parvez holds his line, in my opinion.
Uh,
Parvez is on the outside.
Yeah.
He's not turning into the corner.
Yeah, Kian was going in a straight line for his car, but it wasn't a straight line within the track. Bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, and yeah, Harris is not going to be happy about that, I don't think. But yeah, Kian possibly should have held a bit more of a straighter line. A bit unfortunate because front to rear contact always ends in a spin like that because it's a physics. So yeah, unfortunately that is Harris out of this race.
And White indeed.
And
I mean,
yeah,
when White retires, he retires spectacularly. And that is, we're already up to 8 retirements here at the end, or sorry, middle way through lap 20.
so
But for Birikov avoided all of that. He's getting 2 positions for free.
yeah, this is looking like it's going to be a nice race for Invictus. As you say, they've only got 1 point this year, which is quite disappointing because Birikov, fast driver, Jos, fast driver, they just lack that tiny little bit of something. And
there goes Phil Kraus going past Gosby as well now, just up ahead. So
Phil
Gosby
Kraus
losing positions left, right, and centre.
Phil is on the ultra soft tyres. So I'm
yes,
sure that
yeah.
Martin didn't make that too difficult because they're on different strategies. And see Martin trying to go a bit longer into this Grand Prix. And I just wanted to have a look. How are the Musto guys doing? So Berliak is now up into P14. It's got Manuel Biancalilla looking to get past him. And Biancalilla, as I say, is actually going right down the inside. But he's on the ultra soft tyres. Berliak is on the soft tyres. And who else was involved? Michi Hoyer. He is down in P16.
Patel's plumb last.
Gaia got involved in something as well. He's down in 17th. Jos Araneda having an awful day. Oh, he's on the mediums. That is why. The medium tyres, they're not working today, unfortunately, around this track. So he'll be losing a lot of time on those mediums. And plumb last, as you say, is Mu Patel. What actually happened with Patel was he lost his front wing after he had obviously requested to pit. And what happens when you do it that close to your pit box is that it doesn't change the front wing in the pit lane. So he had to go around again and make another pit stop, which is why he lost so much time. And he's on the ultra soft tyres, unfortunately, at the back of the field. And where's Danny? Oh no, Danny has just made a pit stop for soft tyres. They're not the best race for the Musto guys, but for their sister team Sabema, they've got Michele D'Alessandro in P2. Bit of a lonesome race at the moment. He has got a 6.5 second gap to Yanni Simčić in the lead, but he has best part of 15 seconds still to Sander Kallas. That gap grew incredibly during that pit stop phase, but also just showing the speed of the two guys at the front of the field, but also the front of the championship. So in P10 now is Remco Major. As far as I know, Torrent haven't scored a point this season. They took over from Drillers in about round 3 or 4 at Canada, but they haven't done that well. They're struggling for drivers. Remco's their only permanent driver. I think Gaia is still not permanent. I might be wrong with that, but he has done the last couple of races. And yeah, Remco Major looking like he at least have the opportunity to score a point today. He's got Eros Mashuli, who had an awful qualifying behind him. And yeah, Eros would be very disappointed with that. He had some pace earlier on in the season, but not quite working out for him today.
Well, keep in mind, though, that Danny's running a very aggressive strategy because he's ultra soft. So now going on to the soft tyres, he's probably going to want to go further into the race. But yeah, you are correct. Torrent Motorsports, they've not scored a single point all season, although they've only been racing 3 races. This is their 4th Grand Prix of the year.
Yes, yeah, they joined late after they Drillers Motorsport merged with them, so they overtook the license for that team, rebranded it to Torrent within SimRacing and other leagues that they race in.
Although it's fallen apart in other places from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't had the best season in Formula Racing in general, and as you say, they're obviously struggling a little bit, but I think it is a bit of a transition period for them, with just how the teams worked. I think they were more sort of towards iRacing, so rFactor's a bit different. Got to get some different over here, but you know, they're in P10 right now, cannot complain. Remco Major hopefully can bring home a point if he has a nice race today.
I apologise for the tech issues as well. I almost retired from commentary in today. For some reason, there's just, you look at the pit lane and you're going to be in trouble.
You mean because of the amount of crashes that are happening in the pit lane?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm
Oh,
yeah, it crashed my internet. Oh.
Michele D'Alessandro has made a pit stop and he has come out and he's overtaken Jim Paresis. I missed that on my little tracker that I've got. But yeah, Michele D'Alessandro taking a set of the ultra soft tyres. So, well. He took the soft tyres and he's pitted before Jernej Simoncic. This, to me, sounds like a bit of a strategy change mid-race, would you say?
Well, let's consider this. D'Alessandro was so far ahead of Callas that it's effectively a two-horse race for the win. Maybe he feels that he can't lose any more time to Jernej Simoncic.
That is true, and also he came out only behind Callas and Paresis. He got past Paresis straight away. So if he gets past Sander Callas, that is the position he was already in. So yeah, he's going to lose a minimal from doing this. Possibly he's trying to pull Jernej into doing something. Jernej stays out. So
yeah, why would Jernej want to change from his own strategy? There's no need to.
I wouldn't be surprised if he takes another set of ultra softs, Jernej, and he just pulls a bit more of a gap and uses softs at the end. Michele's losing time now behind Sander Callas. We did actually see Sander Callas move out the way of Michele in Spa. Hasn't done so yet. In fact, he's holding him up a little bit. So maybe the NetRex owners had a bit of a talking to from Callas, but it looks like Michele's going to get past him here. Down through turn 6. We have an awkward kink on a straight when he got DRS, but it's easily flat out. And that is Michele up into P2. But he is a pit stop ahead of the guys just behind him.
Tyen, Gosby, Major all into the pits. And look at that, Tyen and Gosby coming out nose to tail on exit. Tyen out onto the soft tyres, Gosby out onto the ultras. And I think in general what we're looking at is 3 sets of ultras, 2 sets of soft tyres. Like you say, the mediums, nobody wants to touch them with a barge pole because they're pretty useless in terms of, A, they're not super great at conserving tyre life on this track.
Yep.
But the actual time deficit that you lose is just, it's too big to even justify why you'd run them. So you should go aggressive on the strategy. Simoncic choosing to go through all ultras in one go. D'Alessandro's left himself a little bit short-handed, I'd say. I mean, he might be able to go to the end now, but he'd be losing a lot of time on his final set of softs. You need to stretch them out quite a way.
Oh yeah, he's going to be doing 2 more stops from me, definitely. It's probably going to be a 4-stop strategy for most people here today. And yeah, the mediums, well, who is that making a pit stop? Paresis, yes, Paresis in the pit lane from P4. Probably going to come out in about P6 because Kirill Burkov is coming in as well. But yeah, the medium tyres were brought here because seemingly not the right choice in terms of how much they're not used.
I mean, I'm looking at Paresis' stats as well here. He did 10 laps on the ultras. He only did 13 laps on the softs.
Yes, the gap between the tyres is very close here because, well, it's traction. Rears, there's just so much power from engines, 1,000 horsepower, that on a traction circuit like this, we saw it in Canada as well. If if you're not careful, those rears die, and it doesn't matter what tyres you got on. If you're spinning those tyres, they're just wearing.
I'm liking Parisis's strategy though.
Well, Martin Gosby gets past
Gosby,
Jarl Tyen
yeah.
on the ultra soft tyres. So that's ultra soft tyres working out for him. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. What were you saying?
No, it's fine. Well, actually, I'm looking. Both Edge cars seem to be on the same strategy. They've gone ultra soft. And of course, the double advantage of that is they're getting their soft tyre usage out the way, but also when they go back onto the ultra softs, they're not only going to be on lower fuel, but the track's going to be more rubbered in. And so therefore, those ultras are going to be lasting longer than when they did at the beginning of the race. So I think we've got to watch out for Edge in the last 10, 15 laps or so, because they could potentially be in a very good position.
Yes, Parisis is looking very good for this race to try and overtake Sander Callis. Sander Callis is staying out, so he's obviously sticking to his own strategy. The Edge, Kraus is in, yes. Kraus is actually doing a very good job down in what's that, P6 after pit stops play out. Not bad for his second ever WC race. And he's going to get out ahead of Tom Sadley as well. Potentially it's going to be quite close, but yeah, he's going to get out ahead of Tom Sadley. So he's ahead, a pit stop ahead of Tom Sadley as well. This is a very good race from Phil Kraus so far.
Sadley he's only had one stop this entire race, so he's a little bit out of order.
Yes.
But it's bizarre to see a Thrustmaster in the points this year.
Sadley's ghost speed.
He's ghost. Oh, see, I don't even know the color. I know the color of the car, but it's like.
Right, to be fair, Ghost Speed haven't actually done many races this year. Unfortunately, their
very
WC
much like
team.
Their name.
Yeah, they're yes. Unfortunately, they haven't had the best season. They've had a change of management. Their long-time manager James Sadler sort of took a step away. So, to my knowledge, he's not actually managing the team. They're doing pretty well in lower categories as well, but in WC they've just been struggling, and simple as they don't have the drivers. I see Tom, and he's getting overtaken now by the Invictus of Kirill Birakov, and they're going to fight out of that corner, but no, Birakov gets past. Yeah, he is driving the car of Jeroen Kwikel, who is the 2016 Formula SimRacing World Champion, but he only turned up to the first event, and since then, Ghost Speed struggled. Really has been a poor season. I'm sure the management that they have now is not going to be very happy overall, but at least they got some decent performances like now to show that they're not over as a team.
Heras is in and Heras is out into P5, nice and comfortably onto. Is that his first set of ultras? Indeed. Oh no, it's his second set of ultras. My apologies. And so Heras into P5, comfortably ahead of Phil Kraus, who is now comfortably ahead of Kirill Burakov. Tom Satherley now under pressure from Danny Van Den Eet, the Netrex driver. Heads straight through into turn 7, nice and simple. And behind him then is Martin Gosby trying to use those ultras to the advantage, and Jarl Tyen on what we believe is going to be his final set of soft tyres. This is already his second set after starting the race on ultras.
So
and let's go on.
No, I was just saying, so the gap between Gosby and Eras is 10 seconds. So that seems to be the amount of time you lose in a stint between the soft and the ultras, because that is what they had on the last stint. But now they're both on the ultras, so maybe Martin Gosby can try and catch down Sergio Eras a bit. But he's got some traffic here. Is he going to go down the inside of Tom Savley? He's going to get his nose in there. Nice outbraking manoeuvre. And yeah, that is quite a good position, turn 14, to make an overtake, because the amount of room on the exit is... well, it's pretty large for a street track, so there's plenty of room to get two cars down there, and that is him now back up into P9.
And so we've not had any further retirements, thankfully, since that of the massive incident between Parvez and White. Still 8 the number. But it is Jerne Simoncic who continues to lead. He's been controlling this race beautifully, keeping the gap to... well, mind you, keeping the gap to 5 seconds... yeah, we have to remember that Michele D'Alessandro, the one difference is that he's used one of his soft tyre compounds. And as we see the data come in, those 12 laps don't seem as silly all of a sudden because there are a lot of drivers who are putting up similar numbers on their soft tyres. And I presume that he's going to save that second set till later in the race. He'll have one extra ultra set on Simoncic in that final stint.
Yeah, this hasn't worked out too badly for Michele D'Alessandro. He has caught up a second or two over the last few laps. The gap did get out to sort of 6-7 seconds, so he is sort of reeling him back in. But obviously, Yone is still yet to use the soft tyres, and as I said about Martin Gosby, he lost 10 seconds to Eras in that stint. I know he had a couple of battles as well, so let's say about 6-7 seconds that you lose in that stint. That is what the gap is between them right now. So well, the two cars are probably going to come back to each other later in the race, is what.
This is the man who knows how to use his soft tyres. Sander Callas begins lap 17 on his soft tyres. He has not made his second pit stop. And the negative side of that is that when he does come in, he is more than likely going to be overtaken by Jim Paresis, but... And this is a long shot. This is a commentator who knows a few things about strategy. It seems to me that he might be going for one less stop than everyone else, potentially using 3 sets of softs to kind of equal out against 2 sets of ultras.
Potentially, is possible. There's to be fair, some people questioned the tyre choices here, why we didn't have the super soft, but it's actually made the race quite interesting because some of the strategies you might want the super soft because you can't quite stretch the ultra soft that much, but then you don't want to choose a soft because then you're a bit slower. So it's actually brought in some decent strategy options to this race.
Well, not only that, but we're getting some really different names up in the top 10, and I know that was mostly down to that pit lane incident, but it's great to see people who aren't necessarily used in recent memory to being in this sort of position. I mean, I say I really have to specify recent memory because Paresis has been on the podium plenty of times, but they're having to make these choices under a bit of pressure because they know that a podium or double points figures or points in general are up for grabs for them when other times this year, they'd be nowhere near.
Yes, getting points this season has been very difficult. The top teams have really locked out the top of the field a little bit. So, I mean, even like the flag team, my team, we've... especially in the first third of the season, we've really struggled even just to get a couple of P10s, just to get a point, because points only go to 10th place. So races like this, where stuff happens, and like Sergio's up in P5, Phil's in P6, this is where other teams need to maximise their results.
Sander Callas looking to do that then for NetRex. Actually, it's interesting that we talk about NetRex just recently overtaking Edge Esports for that 4th position in what is effectively the 2nd tier. NetRex are looking at a double points finish, as are Edge Esports. Unfortunately for Edge, both NetRexes are ahead of both of their drivers.
Well, respectively, yes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, Danny Van Den Eek doing a good job. And yeah, NetRex, they've had a weird season. Because they started the year with Callas and Alari. I'm going to try to say his surname because I can't. And
Aldipus.
Yeah, Aldipus, him. But Alari basically, I think he's had a baby, I think, or got married, something like that. So that's
life, basically.
Yeah, basically. That's obviously taken up a lot of his time, so he didn't have enough time. So NetRex then brought in Daniel Kish, who supposedly retired, but he obviously got bored. He got bored, so he came back. So their results have come up a little bit, because Callas, as we were saying earlier, hasn't had the best season overall, but Danny Kish has got some good results from him. And now Danny Van Den Eek, team owner, stepping in, the ace driver, for Kish, who isn't here today, and he's doing a good job as well. So maybe NetRex's season's turning around a little bit.
I don't think NetRex has had a double points score this season. Edge most certainly have. Well, actually, no, have they? Because Manusakis only scored. Yes, they have.
Montreal.
That was at round 4.
Is
Montreal.
it Montreal? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good race by them. They screwed up the strategy. Not strategy. No, they had. I remember they had an alternate strategy, but I think one of them got a. It was Manusakis got a drive-through penalty or something like that.
Yeah.
So that meant he actually got a worse result than it looked. But yeah, they've had some good. They've had some good results, to be honest. And I mean, P4 here. Priestess has lost touch with Callas. Callas is quite far up the road, but
No. Remember, Callas is on that different strategy.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
As D'Alessandro's in again. That's again only 9 laps on the ultras, and he's out on another set of them.
There's 30 laps to go, so if he wants to do no way is he doing 2 stops.
Like
a 5
he might
stop.
have to, unless he uses the mediums.
Because even if you stretch the tyres as long as... Oh, that was close. Oh, I thought Callas was going to go into the apex there. But no, that is Michele D'Alessandro now back ahead after losing position to pit stop. Yeah, pushing the tyres as far as they could go. I would say 12 for the ultras and maybe 16 for the soft. And even that's only 18 laps. No. Bad maths. But 28 laps, sorry. 28 laps, which is not 30 laps to go, so not quite sure what he's doing right now. I think he's just consolidating second place and having a bit of fun. I don't think this is a winning strategy.
Yeah. Well, like we said at the top of the race, all he needs to do is finish second from here on out until the end. That's all he needs to do. And he's in that position. So I realise it's a slight risk, given that anything does happen in motor racing, and one bad swing of luck could see D'Alessandro, you know, thrown out of the race with a non-score, and all of a sudden Simoncic is right back in it. But let's be fair, Simoncic has been impervious this entire Grand Prix evening.
This is his track, to be honest.
Yeah.
He got his first ever race win here in 2016. And did he win last year?
You're asking the wrong man, because I wasn't here last year.
I think he won last year as well.
I'll check.
Yeah, so basically he's very good at this track is what I'm trying to say.
He did not win last year.
Did he get a pole?
I don't know whether he got a pole.
Oh no. I remember why. No, last season he had a grid penalty because of something in the race before. So he started from the back and he made his way up. That's what I remember. It was
He actually qualified 6th.
Yes, he had a grid penalty. Must have had a grid penalty then.
Oh, hello. Oh, mass disconnection. We've just had a mass disconnection here. Patel, Major, Biancalilla, Vandeney, Ty and Birakov, Heras Kraus, and D'Alessandro all out. Araneda as well. And I don't know. That might be a red flag. Because that's a big server drop.
That is 33. So we've gone past half distance. Now I'm trying to think what happens in this, but this should be some sort of suspending the race to see what is going on here.
Callas out as well.
If this carries on, then this is going to have massive championship implications. But as far as I can see, there's only 6 cars left in the race right now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, maybe 7. Hoyer as well. Although actually no, Hoyer's a lap down. Yeah, surely it's got to be brought to a stop there.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the trusty old rulebook as to what happens in this situation when so as I said, we've gone over half distance, so whether that means we have a restart or so let's have a and let's get back to you.
Goodness me, when I can't even remember the last time this has even happened at FSR.
This is not something that happens ever, really.
No. Red flag confirmed. So we're going to be bringing this race to a stop. We don't know whether it's temporary or permanent just yet. But yeah, we're just going to be delving into the rule book to see what we've actually said we're going to do in this situation.
Yes, I think if I remember rightly, if it's over halfway.
I think race is done.
Yeah.
I will have to look.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got it here. Server failures. So we're more than 50%. So if less than 75% of the races run, classified result with half points. Result taken from the last completed laps. Yeah.
So that's it.
So that is your race, unfortunately.
That's it.
Yes.
Wow. Incredible. So
yeah.
that's really interesting as well, given that
Yeah.
one lap back, would they get half points then?
Yes, so
it's got to be.
Yeah, so we've gone. If it was less than 50%, a restart would have been attempted if possible, but we've gone past 50%, which means we can avoid half points. So, yes, that means I guess Jene Simoncic is your race winner.
Yeah.
That feels weird to say.
Jene Simoncic wins half a race, and I guess that would be ahead of D'Alessandro. And picking up his first podium of the season, his third podium of his career, will be Sander Callas. So think about Callas. He made those soft tyres last that long, and he got a podium out of it. I'm sure he was close to his second stop, in which case Jim Paresis would have taken that podium. So massive result for Netrex.
That's just one of those things, unfortunately. Anyone could have disconnected at any time, and this is the only real fair way of doing it. At least this way, we still have a result. I'm sure some of those drivers might have wanted it to be restarted. Well, sorry, not restarted, continued from where it was, but that is unfortunately possible. And yeah, so Race Director Chris Cobb has called that, so that will be half points.
So I'm trying to remember the order as it was. So it was Simoncic, D'Alessandro, Callas, Paresis picking up fourth. I think that's his best finish of the year, but unfortunately it won't be converted into his best points haul of the year because it's a half points. Actually, hold on. Let's have a little look here. Jim Paresis. So yeah, his maximum points were 12. So he has actually picked up fourth previously. This is his fourth of the year, but he's only going to pick up 6 points as a result of the 50%. Heras will be fifth, with, I'm guessing, Kraus in sixth. Seventh was, because we also had Gosby. Oh, Van den Eek was seventh, wasn't he? And then it was Gosby. No, Birakov, Gosby, and Tyen.
Yes, so have you gone back on the stream? See.
No, I've just tried to remember off the top of my head. So actually, ironically enough,
let's go.
I think it's lap 31 or 32 it ended.
I don't think there was anyone in a major pit stop phase, though, during that time.
I'm just checking back on the server. So I'm on lap 33,
Mitchie
and no one has disconnected yet. So I think
Mitchie was on 31.
It's last completed lap, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think it's 31.
What if the last completed lap, Sander Callas crossed the line before D'Alessandro?
Well, we will have to. I think it's lap 33. But then you.
No, it wasn't 33.
Well, listen, in any case.
Simoncic definitely won.
There's a lot of work to do.
Simoncic definitely won. We know that much. D'Alessandro and Callas, they're pretty much confirmed on the podium. We apologise that this was a bit of a damp squib to end the evening with, especially as it was turning out to be a really curious race with the tyre strategies and with a lot of drivers in the top 10 and fighting for the podium that we don't usually see here in 2018. But yeah, that is your lot. Nobody coming for an interview either, so I feel we're gonna pack up and we're gonna go home, boys. A rather bizarre Grand Prix, but ultimately still for half a Grand Prix, Cam, an enjoyable one, and Simoncic will be glad to pick up another race win. He at least gains points on D'Alessandro.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the drivers are actually relatively happy that that happened because it can be a long old race here. But that strategy for literally all of those cars was turning out really good. There were some nice little battles. The field hadn't spread out that much. We still had the battles going, which is sort of unusual for Singapore. But yeah, unfortunately, the internet is a thing with sim racing, and it seems to have come a cropper here. But we do at least have a result for, and it was a largely enjoyable race while we had it.
Right, so again, we apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, when we return, which will be in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks? No, 3 weeks' time. I need to double check this now. Yes, 3 weeks' time. 9th of September is the date which you need to remember. It is the Japanese Grand Prix, Suzuka, round 10 of 12. And the drivers are going to go back there and hopefully enjoy a full 100% race. And yeah, I guess there's not much more to say than that. Again, apologies. Really hope you enjoyed what you saw. We certainly did. Big thank you to our race director for today, Chris Cobber. Big thank you to Mr. Cameron Rodger, who's been doing cameras as well as co-commentating. So big thank you to him. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, a goodbye that comes a little bit too soon.